In 1929, 25% of Americans lost their jobs. Banks collapsed. Families lost everything. People who have worked their entire lives had nothing left by Tuesday morning. Historians have spent nearly a century debating what caused it, but in 1933, a United States senator gave a simpler answer. He pointed to one man and said, "He, more than any 50 men, is responsible for the stock crash." That man was not a criminal. He was not a fraudster hiding in the shadows. He walked 5 miles to work every morning through Manhattan. He gave interviews, he made speeches, he was photographed smiling on the front of every major newspaper in America. He was the most respected banker in the world, and 25 million people lost their jobs. This is the debrief. Most financial disasters have 100 causes: policies, interest rates, market cycles, government failures, bad timing. Historians spread the blame wide because the truth is complicated. But the 1929 crash has something most financial disasters don't: a name. Charles Edwin Mitchell, head of National City Bank, the institution that is now called Citibank, the bank that is still in your wallet right now. And what makes Mitchell's story different from every other Wall Street scandal you have ever heard, it's not what he did, it's what happened to him afterwards. He was arrested, tried, acquitted on all accounts, then photographed walking out of the courthouse smiling, surrounded by his friends congratulating him. Then he went back to work. By the end of this video, you will understand not just how one man helped cause the worst economic disaster in modern history, you will understand why nobody has ever truly been held accountable for one, and why that pattern has repeated every single time since. Most mornings in New York City during the 1920s, Charles Mitchell could be spotted walking to work. He lived on 5th Avenue. He worked in the financial district. The distance was nearly 5 miles. He walked there every day. He did not do it to save money. He was one of the wealthiest men in America. He did it because he wanted people to see him. That was the point. Charles Mitchell understood something about banking that most of his peers had not yet grasped. The product was not money. The product was confidence. If people believed the market was strong, the market was strong. If they believed in him, they believed in the market. And if they believed in the market, they kept buying. Mitchell was born in Chelsea, Massachusetts in 1877, the son of a mayor, educated, ambitious. He joined National City Bank in 1916 and transformed it into something the American banking system has never seen before. He built the first retail investment sales force in history. Teams of salespeople. They were trained, aggressive, relentless, fanning out across America, selling stocks and bonds to ordinary people, school teachers, factory workers, farmers, people who had never owned a single share of anything. The pitch was simple. Anyone can get rich. The market always goes up, and we are the ones who can get you in. To understand what Mitchell built, you need to understand what Wall Street looked like before him. Before Mitchell, the stock market was for the wealthy. Ordinary Americans kept their savings in banks. They did not buy stocks. Mitchell changed that. National City Bank opened branches across the country. His sales team operated out of every major city. They were trained to overcome objections, apply pressure, and close. Bonuses were tied directly to how much they sold, not how well the investments performed. Let that land for a moment. The people selling you the investments were paid based on whether you bought it, not on whether it was good for you. The securities National City sold were not always what they appeared to be. The bank had accumulated bad loans that would likely never be paid back. Instead of absorbing these losses, Mitchell's team packaged them into bonds, gave them impressive names, and sold them to the public. People thought they were buying safe investments. They were buying National City's bad debt. By 1929, Mitchell had personally made $3.4 million in bonuses in just 2 years, approximately $58 million in today's money, on top of his regular salary. The market kept climbing. Nobody asked how. October 24th, 1929, the market opened and immediately collapsed. Stocks fell so fast that ticker tape, the machine that tracked prices, could not keep up with the speed of the decline. Investors across the country were reading numbers that were already 20 minutes out of date, watching fortunes dissolve in real time. Mitchell left his office and walked to the House of Morgan, the gray building directly across from the New York Stock Exchange. Inside, he sat with the most powerful bankers in America: J.P. Morgan Jr., Thomas Lamont, Albert Wiggin. They made a decision. They would go on a buying spree, all of them, publicly, visibly. They would purchase stocks at above market prices and let the world know they were doing it. The message? We believe. And if we believe, you should believe too. It worked. By the end of the day, the market had stabilized. Mitchell walked back to his office. The newspapers called it a miracle. He told the reporters, "I still see nothing to worry about." The following Monday, the market collapsed again. The Monday after that, Black Tuesday, it collapsed completely. The confidence was gone, and without the confidence, there was nothing left. When the smoke cleared, people needed someone to blame. Mitchell was the obvious answer. He had been the loudest voice telling America the market was safe. His bank had sold the securities that were now worthless. His salespeople had taken the retirement savings of school teachers and farmers and put them into investments that no longer existed. Senator Carter Glass stood on the Senate floor and said what most people were thinking. He, more than any 50 men, is responsible for this stock crash. But Mitchell survived the first wave of scrutiny. He was charming, connected. His lawyers were excellent. The congressional hearings of 1932 produced headlines but no consequences. Then Ferdinand Pecora arrived. Pecora was a Sicilian immigrant, a former assistant district attorney from New York. Small, precise, methodical. He had been assigned as chief counsel to the Senate Banking Committee investigation, and where everyone else had given Mitchell room to maneuver, Pecora gave him none. February 21st, 1933, Mitchell took his seat in room 301 of the Senate office building. He was still, by most accounts, one of the most powerful men in American finance. He would not be by the end of the week. Under Pecora's questioning, the details emerged one by one. Mitchell and his senior officers had given themselves millions of dollars in interest-free loans from the bank, while the bank's shareholders took catastrophic losses. In 1929, despite earning more than $1 million in bonuses, Mitchell had paid zero income tax. Zero. He had achieved this by selling 18,300 shares of National City Bank stock to his wife, establishing a paper loss of nearly $3 million that wiped out his tax liability. A fake transaction between a husband and wife designed specifically to avoid paying taxes on a $1 million bonus. In the same year, his clients were losing everything. And National City had hidden bad loans by packaging them into securities and sold those securities to the public as safe investments. The people who had bought them had no idea what they were buying. By the time Mitchell's testimony appeared in the newspapers, he had been destroyed, not by the court, by the public. His career was over. A month later, federal agents arrived at his Fifth Avenue mansion on a Tuesday evening. President Roosevelt had personally approved the arrest. Charles Mitchell was charged with tax evasion. The trial lasted 6 weeks. Mitchell lost 24 pounds during it. His lawyer, Max Dower, made a simple argument to the jury. Mitchell was a big fish. The government needed a scapegoat. The mob wanted blood. And his client, whatever his mistakes, had not broken the law. The jury deliberated for 24 hours. Then they acquitted him on every count. Mitchell walked out of the courthouse. The photographs from that day still exist. He is smiling. His friends and associates are surrounding him, shaking his hand, congratulating him. Outside, 25 million people were unemployed. 1 in 4 Americans had no job. Families were living in tent cities. Children were going hungry. And the man, the United States Senator, had called more responsible for the crash than 50 others, walked out into the sunlight. The civil case that followed cost Mitchell over $2 million. He sold his Fifth Avenue mansion. He sold his estate at Tuxedo Park. He described himself as millions in the red. But by 1935, less than 2 years after the trial, he was back. He became chairman of Blythe & Company, one of the most powerful investment banks on Wall Street. He worked there for the rest of his life. He died in 1955 at the age of 77. His obituary in the New York Times called him a noted banker. The Pecora hearings, the investigation that exposed Mitchell, produced something Mitchell himself did not expect: outrage that translated into law. Congress passed the Glass-Steagall Act of 1933. It separated commercial banking from investment banking, the exact combination Mitchell had used to fuel the crash. It created the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, guaranteeing ordinary people's savings. The Securities and Exchange Commission was created the following year, the body that regulates Wall Street to this day. Mitchell did not intend any of this. He was simply trying to make money, but the system he built to sell everywhere inscrutable. Hide the risk, package the bad debt, pay yourself regardless of outcome did not disappear with the crash. It came back. In 1987, in 2008, the names changed, the products changed, the scale grew, the structure stayed the same. No senior banking executive went to prison after 2008. Not one. They paid fines, settled civil suits, returned to work. Exactly as Mitchell had. And the institutions that caused the collapse, including the institution Mitchell built, National City Bank, now Citibank, were bailed out with public money and resumed operations. That is the debrief on Charles E. Mitchell, a man who did not set out to cause a depression. He set out to make money, and the system he built to do it was so efficient, so scalable, so deeply embedded in how American banking worked that it only needed to run long enough to collapse everything. The crime was not the crash. The crime was that the crash was entirely predictable, and the people who saw it coming kept selling anyways. If you want to go deeper, The Great Crash, 1929, by John Kenneth Galbraith was the definitive account of what happened, how it happened, and who was responsible. Still the clearest explanation ever written. The Hellhound of Wall Street by Michael Perino follows Ferdinand Pecora through the hearings that exposed Mitchell and changed American financial law forever. 1929 by Andrew Ross Sorkin reconstructs the crash day by day and shows how many of the warning signs were visible and ignored. And the original Pecora hearing transcripts are publicly available through the United States Senate archives, including Mitchell's complete testimony. Subscribe to Debrief and click the notification bell if this is the kind of story you want more of. Next week, we are pulling the file on a story that's never been fully told on YouTube. A scam so large, it destroyed the savings of millions of ordinary people across 3 continents. The person who ran it is still missing, and the money has never been found.